Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I have with me Xylie. Do you want to introduce yourself and explain what you do here?
Well, my channel name is XylieGetsReal, and on my channel, I do kind of a variety of things. I do reaction commentary, and then sometimes I will go and do like deep dives and make series out of them. And, we just have fun and we go on field trips around the internet or around YouTube specifically.
Is there was there a point that you decided you wanted to do this, or a story that really you felt the need to cover that, you thought that, this is what I want to do?
I started noticing as I was growing a little bit and I was starting to cover, like with Creepshow. Creepshow was the big story that kind of, blew me up a little bit out of the water. Thank you, Creepshow. I got monetized off of her. And, but I started noticing that a lot of people who came in, they didn't know the people I was covering. So then it hit me, you know what? Why don't I just do different YouTubers that people either don't know or they don't know who that person is talking about in the video? And that way people understand there's other YouTubers, there's other communities out there. Like the series I'm doing now on the Krama community, there's a lot of people who didn't even know they existed, and they are a whole mess over there. And it's not a small community. I mean, it's small in comparison, but it's rather large. It's crazy. So,
Do you want to briefly explain what Krama is for anyone who may be interested to go see your videos on that?
Okay, Krama, spelled Crama. It is true crime, people who do true crime, but they also are in drama all the time. Hence the name Krama. Put crime and drama together. Matter of fact, one of the, I call him the golden light of the Krama community. His name is John Crimes. He's the one that actually coined that term Krama. He pretty much called out a lot of the big players in there, like Molly Golightly and I believe Laura Perplexed and like Bullhorn Betty and stuff like that.
I see. Because there is definitely, like, when it comes to true crime, I think personally there's ways in which it's been covered that I'm not too happy with myself. I mean, I was going to do a video on it, and then Petty Page dropped her video. I was like, damn. You've already said it all. I mean, I might still make a video on it, but I'm like, she pretty much took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, I say go and do it. But the funny part is, like, now what she covered in true crime, that's a different section of true crime than what I'm talking about. The true crime players I'm talking about. They're the ones who don't have as many subscribers. They have like the 10K, 29K. One particular person in that community named Natasha Cooper, when the whole Gabby Petito thing was going on, she did 84 live streams.
That's insane. Yes. I can definitely see how that is going on from simply covering a case to being exploitative.
Right. And that's on her true crime channel. So that's how she got up to 29K, because she was basically streaming the news cycles, the news channels. Then she also has 2 channels where she does all her all her drama on there, where she's talking about people and doing bad stuff and like scamming and stuff like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
It's a mess over there, honey. It's a mess. It is a mess. And then you have like the anti-community of theirs, and they like to call themselves the awareness community, which I think is kind of funny because most of the people in the awareness community aren't even aware that they're just as bad as the people that they talk about.
It sounds so bizarre to me because out of principle, I won't cover cases that are fairly recent. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's just don't. I mean, some people may do it and they may do it in an effective way, but ongoing cases, particularly for the family, is just. It seems insensitive to me.
Oh, yeah. The true crime I like to watch, I like to watch the true crime that the case is either like it's been years and they never been able to solve it, or cases that were closed or stuff like that. More historic ones. You know, that's the kind that I like to watch. New ones, you know, you can speculate all day long and you can think it's one person and then turn around and it's somebody out of the bushes that you didn't even know. And I don't want to speculate, you know, whether this person did that or not. I don't know. It's not for me. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to prefer closed cases as well, especially ones where I feel... I mean, one of the videos I did was obviously the one involving Lin Jun, because I felt... Well, I've done 2 videos. I did the first one, and then I wasn't too pleased on the quality of that one, so I re-released it. Because obviously a lot of people were talking more about the perpetrator in that case. I made a point not to mention the perpetrator, even though everybody knows who the perpetrator is.
Right.
You know, I just didn't want to say that. And I also cover some cases where it's possible that the perpetrator may be released, like the video that I did on the case of Alicia McPhail, you know, a little girl. But it's possible that her, you know, the person who did that could be released in our lifetimes, which is so bizarre to me. So some of it I want to cover, just, you know, part of it is interest. I mean, people can't deny that it's interesting. It's something that we're not normally accustomed to. The most common crimes that occur are property crimes, but there are no true crime channels covering property crimes, because it's not interesting to listen about how somebody did something to a property, or, you know, didn't pay tax on a property. So I understand why people are interested in it. So part of it is intrigue, and another one is the victim. The victim is the most important part of it, and the victim's families. But also the perpetrator, should the perpetrator potentially be released. So people know the faces of that person, even after the fact. Because I feel like the Alicia McPhail case was massive, but obviously news comes and goes. I don't want it to be forgotten.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that.
And speaking of things that we generally don't or do talk about, are there any figures on YouTube that you won't cover on your YouTube channel?
Well, up until recently, it's been, I won't cover anyone under 10K. But unfortunately, with the series that I'm doing, there are major players in that community that have less than 10K. So I kind of have to cover them because they're in the story. But generally, outside of a series or whatever, I don't like to cover people under 10K because I feel like I'm going after my coworkers. You know, and usually when small channels are fighting, it gets real personal. And I'm not here to be on YouTube having I don't want to have personal fights. There are bigger creators I will not cover. I will not cover Katie Joy. Katie Joy has a whole hate community, an anti-community. They can talk about her all day long. I will not cover her. I don't like covering Gabby Hanna. And I try to stay away from Trisha Paytas. But sometimes I kind of have to talk about Trisha Paytas because it's part of the story of someone else that I'm covering.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like some topics have been banged to death, and there's going to be somebody who's already posted, or there's going to be a few channels that have already posted several videos on a story by the time I even get around to looking at what the story is. I've done one sum-up video of Gabby Hanna and Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. I've done sum-up videos of them. I think it was more particularly to do with the James Charles, when I'm still got no idea what's going on with that. At one point he's guilty, then he's innocent, then he's guilty. I think we're at the consensus that I think we're at the consensus now that he's guilty. So I'm very confused with that. But generally, I won't talk. Like, you know, I'll talk about popular figures. Like, you know, I'll talk about them. But when it comes to, like, I guess what people would consider T channel content, like Gabby Hanna and Trisha Paytas, and
I hate that term. I hate that term, T channel. But I will say this, now that you mention it, I don't want to talk about Jeffree Star. I try to stay away from Shane Dawson. I don't want to talk about James Charles. That whole, stay over there. I don't care. Unless somebody, like, it's a major story, not just, he bought a yak farm or something. It has to be something major, like something big. It can't just be, I'm hating on Jeffree Star today. I can't. It's just, I'm not interested in it. That's what it boils down to. I'm just not interested in it. I'm not interested in what Shane is doing. You know?
Hannah bores the crap out of me, like, generally. I think what happened with Jessie Smiles is definitely something that should be brought out and taken into account. But the rest of it, and I do understand about keeping people accountable, but when you've got like, tens of dozens of videos on one person, it gets very stale, and I wouldn't want to report on it particularly.
Exactly. And you know what? Ever since that whole Gabby Hanna versus T-Channel stuff and all that other layers of crap, you know what? She's out there living her best life and just doing her own thing. She's not doing anything. But yet somebody drops a video, I'm not saying a name, Angelicold, drops a video about how Gabby Hanna's social media is scaring people. Are you that desperate for content?
I couldn't have I started my channel on Amberlynn Reid. I privated them because I did some pretty low blows at the time, but I didn't want to just repeat the same points even when I did that at the very beginning. I didn't want to just go, she's fat, she's lazy, she can't commit to a diet. I didn't want to do that. I brought up some points and then I finished it after I realised I've covered everything. Yeah. She could come out and do something absolutely wacky and I've covered everything. And my point was never to make fun of her, but I did make some low blows because she's not my kind of YouTuber. And I think that's a lot of people who cover her. It's not that kind of YouTuber. At the end of the day, when it comes to Amberlynn Reid, I think the only main things I had problems with her was her pets. No one can argue that Twinkie at some stage was not overweight and it was unhealthy for a Chihuahua to be that way. I don't think anyone can particularly argue that. So I think after a while I was like, these videos, I'll probably look at them and if any of them I feel like they still stand, I'll unprivate them, but I haven't actually looked back on them. I did a bit of Dissociated, but honestly there's so much to cover with that chick then I had to cover a lot because first it was with Team Pinata and then it moved on to her because the spotlight went onto her and it's oof. But right now, honestly, a lot of people were like, Dissociated's back. Are you going to cover it? And I'm like, no, just her channel's back. Cool. I guess it was shitty that somebody was copyright striking her channel and she had to go to court. But what else am I going to say about it?
Well, people did the same thing with me and Mysterious. Remember when I covered Mysterious for those 2 times, and it was about her take on Trisha Paytas and what Trisha Paytas had gone through, okay? Well, she came back, and people were automatically, Mysterious is back, are you going to cover it? No, I had one problem with her, and I showed the reasoning for my problem with her, and I showed the reasoning why she was doing it, and that's it. One and done. I'm done. Why do I need to continually cover her? I'm not a hate channel on her.
Yeah, exactly. People were because Nin from Dissociated, or I guess Kaya now, I'm going to go with Dissociated generally. They did do a 2-hour video or something ridiculous going through all their controversy. I did watch it. Still not satisfied with the answers to them. A lot of them, some of them made sense. Others she just repeated what she had said last time. But the criticism was that some of the things that she was addressing from last time have still continued. I'm still not going to make a video going over that because I can't be asked.
Right. Right.
Yeah. What am I
totally get it.
Repeating it, it's stupid.
No, it makes no sense. There's much more going on out there than just that. Like you said, like I said, I'm not a hate channel. I know you're not a hate channel. You cover a variety of topics. Me, I pretty much stay in the YouTube sphere. Sometimes I'll branch out into gaming, but there's much more out there than just one person and their problems and their problematic behavior. Come on, guys.
I mean, Nin Senpai did acknowledge me and said that I ripped her to shreds. I think more so was referring to a different video where I kind of took the mick out of a copyright strike email that she put on somebody else. But,
well, hey, you got your dues. You got your dues.
I was kind of like, well, that was a petty video because I was literally reading out the email like in a really insulting way. Like, no, I didn't add anything. I just took the mick out of I read what was written there and I took the mick out of it. So,
That's funny. That's funny.
Basically, I feel like I can cover anything. I mean, I did a video going over the history of the Wellerman because I wanted to. I'm like, when I upload a video, I can estimate how many views it'll get. I can estimate whether it'll get less than 500, less than 1,000, and I'll still post it because genuinely I don't give a shit. I know a lot of people are like, I don't care about views. But I don't. I can't imagine how draining it would be because people are like, tips for growing your YouTube channel, post regularly, even daily, cover this, this, and this. And I'm like, how draining and boring that would be. I mean, some people, like I know Harley TBS, they upload like a lot. Like I think they do daily uploads. And you know what? If that works for them, go for it. They seem happy doing that. And, you know, they do a good job of it. But for me, it would just be draining as hell. It would reach a point where I'd be like, I cannot do this. You just have to have a backlog of videos. And I struggle to have a backlog of videos. When I record a video, it's likely that video was recorded only a few days prior to it being posted.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a lot. Those daily uploaders, I'm like, my gosh, talking about being on a grind, my goodness.
And it works, but I'm just not interested in it.
Oh, it most definitely works for them. It's just me, one, I'm horrible at making videos. Making videos is not my thing. I'm a better live streamer. And yeah, I'm on my grind right now. Because I have a lot that I can cover on YouTube, but you know, I can't go weeks and weeks of everyday live streaming. There's no way. I can't do it.
No. And I guess touching on the topic of like how YouTube works exactly, have you seen the claim that YouTube commentary is either dead or dying, and what do you think about that?
Okay. I saw that you put that on Twitter, and I have a question first before I answer it. And there's a specific reason why. Do you mean commentary community or commentary as a whole?
I guess it kind of interchanges. Like a lot of people have been saying, oh, commentary content itself is bad. And the commentary community is also like dying or bad. There's a lot of like I've seen tweets that have like said like the same thing about both. They're either bad, it's getting even worse, it's dying, or it's dead.
Okay, well, here's my thing about commentary as a whole. I don't think it's dying because I'd say a good 90% of what's on YouTube is commentary. You have people talking about grass seeds and what grass seeds to use in your lawn. That's commentary. All right. All commentary is giving your opinion about something. Commentary comes in many forms. You have what people call T channels, but I call them drama channels. They do a certain type of commentary. The commentary community, they normally stay in a certain sphere of commentary. People who cover talking about ghost stories and haunted houses, that's still a different type of commentary. So no, I don't think it's dying. I think right now in the commentary community and what I'm noticing in the commentary community, there's new people in that community that is coming up, and their style of doing it is more like 2016 commentary. Yeah. And it's a little bit different where some of the ones that are bigger in that community, you can definitely see a change in how they were 3 years ago versus now. You know, you can see the maturity going. You can see that, hey, this is bad for my brand. Let me not do this. You know, you can definitely see the change. And these new kids, and I say kids, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but compared to me, they're a kid. These newer kids coming up, their style is a little bit more aggressive. There you go. That's probably it right there. Aggressive. Yeah, I don't think it's dying. I don't think he's dying. I think with the commentary community, I don't think it's dying. I think it's evolving.
Yeah, I have the same point, because I think Tipster, God bless him, I love Tipster. He tweeted that, a lot of the content was like really depressing and covering serious topics. And I guess there could be a conversation had about whether, because a lot of the times when things are reported on, people are like, oh, why isn't this going to the police? Why isn't this? And that is a valid question and a valid complaint. But I also think that when it comes to justice, are we only talking about justice in the sense that somebody is arrested or like gets a fine or there's some kind of legal repercussions for what they've done? Or are we also going to talk about justice in the fact that some people still have their platforms? Because a lot of the things done, depending on where you're from, aren't even illegal. Like, if you're looking at, the Kira the wolf situation, a lot of things done to those animals weren't even particularly illegal, or if they were, there was some form of repercussions. It was like a small fine. And I think a lot of people don't quite understand that what the law is in certain places wouldn't be the same everywhere. And so the law might not be enough to punish people adequately for what they've done. And in that regard, I would say that maybe there should be some awareness brought. And I'm sure there are people out there who make these videos with the pure intent of getting money. I've got no qualms saying that does happen, and these depressing and dark topics are covered for that reason. But also, on the other hand, if we do have legal systems that are not ready or willing to give the full extent of the law, or even don't have the full extent of what we should consider the law to be, then perhaps there does need to be some societal repercussions for them in letting us know who they are, what they've done, and hold them to account in that regard.
No, I totally agree. But I think there's another change that I'm seeing, and this is actually throughout different communities. This isn't just commentary community I'm talking about. I'm talking about throughout YouTube and different smaller communities. You're starting to see this thing where I guess people would say there's a lot of Karens around or whatever, where you start seeing people quoting the TOS on YouTube while they're breaking the TOS on YouTube. You have a bunch of armchair, like keyboard detectives, keyboard sheriffs, keyboard warriors. And it's just a bunch of frantic people running around not solving an issue. Honestly, all they're doing is bitching.
Yeah, and I feel like in regards to when we're talking about like those types of people, and when it comes to serious cases, and some problems have said, some people have said that commentary isn't fun anymore. Commentary isn't, it's just dark and it's depressing. And I honestly think that just has a reflection of some of the other trends. We've seen true crime becoming much more popular. When the panorama happened and everyone's stuck indoors, I feel like we fixated on different things that weren't maybe even to do with that, but because we felt kind of dark and hopeless, we're looking at things like that to consume in a way. And of course, loads of like Netflix, going back to the true crime thing, they had, was it during, well, it was, there's a lot of different documentaries that have come out during that time or just afterwards. So I think it would make sense that consumers and creators are looking at different types of content and aren't necessarily looking at the traditional commentary style topics or subjects.
Well, just think about it. Just in the commentary community alone, and listen, I don't see myself fitting in any community. To me, my community is my channel, okay? But I have to admit, for my own viewing pleasure, I normally watch people in the commentary community spectrum, okay? But I do watch other creators, but like for my downtime, I watch commentary community stuff, right? And I reported on a lot of it. You got to think, for a solid year, if not longer, all we were talking about were P words.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
And you know what? I'm tired about talking about them. I'm tired. I am tired of talking about that subject. It was like almost every other week somebody new come out and did this and did that, and it's like, can we come back? Can we go back to being fun? And listen, I appreciated Willie Mack's video on the quartering so much because it was giving someone constructive criticism, but made it fun. It was funny. It wasn't deep, dark, sad, and it didn't tick you off. It was funny because he joked on him. You know, it wasn't that ultra serious. It got too serious at one point. And I don't blame people for getting tired of talking about it. You know, at what point do y'all need to go to the police and not tell people? You know what I'm saying? Go to the police.
I can totally agree, because I've had people, like, when I made my videos on Eugenia, I made a video on Eugenia and I talked about how just because, I talked about the recovery side and how just because somebody appears to be recovering, it doesn't mean it's like the truth. Right. Not to discredit any recovery she may or may not have made. But to kind of, because it's unique. It's unique to watch somebody go through something like that online. And I was also talking about her as a reference to people in your own lives.
That was a good video. That was a good video that you did.
But I wanted to, because not even necessarily just to say, think of Eugenia and look at her, but don't necessarily apply everything I'm saying to her. It was more of a, think of your people in your own life. Just because somebody looks like they're getting better, it doesn't, I feel like a lot of people, once somebody with an ED starts gaining weight, they're like, oh, okay, we can forget about it now. Like, it's all solved, problem solved, which is why when people started to be like, oh, she's better, I could see that. And I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, because you're getting blasé with it. But, if that's how you think about Eugenia, how are you going to treat somebody in your own life who appears to be getting better? And that was a concern for me. So and after that, people kept like coming in, like I understand that my Etsy store Instagram is affiliated with me, but the only things I post on there are like my Etsy store stuff. So I understand why some people would go to that in order to message me about content, but I think it's quite clear on the basis of the content of my Etsy store, it's only for that. And I had one person come in like, oh, there's this pro-AN stuff and it's terrible, and you need to cover this. And I was like, dude, this is my Etsy store stuff, and I would appreciate it if you were to send me stuff on this, then at least give me a heads up as a warning, so I don't just like read my Etsy store stuff that for the majority is just people asking about, oh, would you do this or would you do that? Just coming in and like trauma dumping on me. And I feel like a lot of creators have got that, because I think Carly TBS, again, they also said like, please don't just come in and trauma dump or like talk about really depressing stuff or demand that we cover this, because we are human beings. And I understand that a lot of people did cover certain topics. We have to understand that there's a certain time and place. Somebody could cover, like, for a solid 2 months, completely dark topics, and that might be their threshold. They might, after 2 months, they're like, right, I need to take a step back and take a break. And we also have to remember, again, people pre-record videos, so they could constantly be posting things of a dark nature, but those videos could be recorded over the course of a few months. And in between that, they might be taking a break and going, okay, I need to take a step back and take a breather. So to have people come in without warning and demand that people cover these dark topics, I feel like there's a real disconnect between the viewer and the creator, not quite understanding how YouTube works, how people might pre-record or people might do boom, boom, boom for a few months and then they might be taking a step back. And I don't necessarily think that it's up to the creator to have to respond to every single, person who's trauma dumping on them, or these people. Again, it comes back to like parasocial relationships. We aren't your therapists. We're not here to trauma. Like I'll always point somebody in the right direction, but I'm not your therapist. I do have feelings. If you are going to send me dark shit, then at least let me know what is going to be covered in the following message, rather than me just like scrolling through my Etsy Instagram and it's like, boom, dark shit.
I'm going to be honest with you. I had to close my DMs due to trauma dumping. I couldn't, especially when I was covering the Anna Campbell stuff. That series messed me up. That series messed me up where I didn't want to cover stuff like that for a while. But the trauma dumping that I was getting in my DMs and when I cover certain people, like I started covering Natasha Cooper. She was my first two videos in my series. And I'm getting these emails, well, Natasha Cooper did this, Natasha Cooper did that to me, and this, that, and the other. I had to go on my community page and say, look, I'm not joining y'all's community, and there's no way I can cover every single thing Natasha Cooper has done. There's no way, especially when I'm only covering that community 1 or 2 times a week. There's no way that I can cover every single thing she has done. And I'm getting all these emails going, well, she did this to me and she did that to me. And I'm like, I'm sorry that happened to you. There's nothing. What can I do?
Exactly.
You know?
I've had people, I've had like ex-partners, like, or partners of recent breakups from YouTubers. And not even both of them would be YouTubers, but I've had people come to me and be like, I've got this really weird message from this person who used to date this person who's a YouTuber. And they're basically telling me that they were like abusive and that. And I don't know what to do with it because, like, I don't really interact with this person, but they also don't want me to share it. So they're clearly just dumping on me about this person because we're on the same platform and there's no evidence and they don't want me to talk about it. And I'm really confused. And it's like, I feel like there does need to be an awareness that not only do parasocial relationships harm the viewers, by building up expectations and possibly leading people into trusting people that based on what they say online because they look up to them, but it also harms the creator.
Yeah, it does. I mean, especially with, don't tell anybody, we have to keep this secret, but I actually do have a heart. And yeah, I know, right? And when I get trauma dumped on, which I understand, people need outlets and they need to be able to tell someone, but I have a really good friend, and that friend, I was talking to them about it and I was upset, and they were like, it takes energy. And sometimes in life, you just don't have the energy. And this is when I was going through the Anna Campbell series, which was already messing me up because of the behind the scenes crap that was going on. And I almost broke down because I just didn't have the energy for it. And it wasn't the person's fault who messaged me. Don't get me wrong, because they didn't know. They didn't know what I was going through with the Anna Campbell series. They don't know me. But but just adding that to it, it was like, oh my God, Yeah. So, we're humans too. Just because I can report this, it doesn't mean that I don't have feelings about it. If you ever watch one of my live streams, you can most definitely tell when I have feelings about a particular subject, I'm pretty animated, just saying.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's very taxing on my soul. It really is. And it's not that I don't want to hear it from people. It's just that for my own mental health, I can't hear it from everybody. I can't, because I'll start taking them in and it'll mess me up.
I think the takeaway from this is just really consider who you're messaging, that the person is like, if you feel like this is important and does need to be said, maybe consider whether or not this is the right person to be messaging. Do they have any power to do anything? What is it that they do online? Do they talk about being involved in investigations? If so, that might be a bit of a red flag based on what we know.
Yeah.
And if you do feel the need to get it out there, are there other ways of doing it? Like writing it down on a note and ripping it up or burning it? Are there other ways that you could do it that don't impact another person who might not be ready for it? Do you need to seek some professional help? Is there something, do you need to talk to a counselor or a therapist?
Yeah.
Is there somebody else that you could go with this to first rather than a creator? And if all of those don't seem viable, then at the very least, please give a warning at the beginning of your message. Like, I think it should be a last resort. If it's something maybe like that has been a problem for a while, like such as Darby Vanity and every other avenue, that guy's had legal stuff. That guy, people have known about him, and girls are still being impacted, and you feel like maybe it should be known. that's one of the only things, that's one of the only cases I can understand wanting somebody with numbers to cover it. If you've exhausted other avenues, this person has been through legal proceedings, that there's witness testimony, all of those things, and that's the last thing. At least give a warning if that's the last thing that you want. It should be the last resort. It shouldn't be the first thing that happens, because YouTubers, most of us aren't legal experts. We aren't psychological experts. Some of us are across the world. We can't do anything where we are. But if you do feel like it's the very last thing, then at least leave a warning, letting the creator know what they're about to consume.
Yeah. Yeah. And believe me, and I don't want anyone to take away that, I'm bashing the people that message me or whatever. I'm definitely not bashing them. It's just that for me personally, it was a lot to take in, because I do care about people, and I don't want to see anyone get hurt. And it's heartbreaking to hear about people's pain and shit that they've gone through. It's heartbreaking to me. I'm not the kind of person that can read something like that and just toss it over my shoulder and go, oh, well, I can't do that. I literally take those words in. And for my own mental health, I had to close my DMs. Now the only people who can DM is people that I follow.
Yeah.
I had to do it that way because my mental health couldn't take it otherwise. It really couldn't, and it's no slight to anyone, but I have to look out for myself first, because how can I make people aware of things if I'm not even in the right mindset to even look the stuff up or, even talk about it, So,
yeah.
And I still cry on stream sometimes with some of the stories.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that is a really good place to end. I think we've covered a lot of ground in regards to the commentary community and viewers interacting with creators. Is there anything else you want to particularly say on any of that?
I would like to say this, and this isn't to anybody really watching the commentary. This is really to anyone. YouTube is a big world. Okay. There are so many different communities. There are so many different channels. There are so many different subjects. Take a little ride and go on vacation in different parts of YouTube and see what's out there. Because what I'm dealing with right now are people who are stuck in a small community and they don't see anything else. Go out there, explore. You don't have to say anything in those live streams. You don't have to leave a comment on a video, but go out there and explore. You will find some really cool creators out there just by going and looking at your recommended. And then, going by and looking at one recommended video and maybe they suggest somebody, then you go there and before you know it, you're finding a bunch of content that you may actually like and you never knew were there.
Exactly. I think that's a good place to end this. So thank you very much for coming on, Xylie. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm sure we'll find something to talk about in the future and collaborate on. I'm
sure we will. You and I can talk for hours.
If there's a topic that comes up that you feel the need for somebody who may have knowledge vaguely on the psychological spectrum, I'm here.
Absolutely. Hey, you've helped me before. Just saying.
But it's been great having you, and hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.